Okay. So one of the things I'll just say right here is that every once in a while I deal with clients, and when we get to number comparisons between mates or children and parents, what you'll find is that if somebody gets the birth date slightly wrong, and they call me and they'll say, I got the birthday wrong, I told you the wrong birthday, does that change anything? I'm like, oh yeah, it changes everything. So it usually changes 2 of the numbers at least, possibly 3 of the numbers, more than that if it's completely wrong. So, you know, literally, if I'm talking to somebody and they say, well, I think the person's birthday was it the 27th or the 29th? I'm not really sure. I try and do both of them because I'm like, if it's the 27th, it's this. If it's the 29th, it's this. Because it's going to change it quite a bit. And I'll say, sometimes I'll say to them, are they more like this or are they more like that? And you can also sort it like that because it's pretty amazing. You're like, oh no, they're totally not like that other one, they're totally like this. So, but it does change it quite a bit. So if you're wrong or you're off or you add wrong, it'll change it. Sometimes I add wrong. Even though I do this all day, sometimes I add wrong. So if somebody has a karma of 5, now we're dealing with the fact that we're dealing with Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, but we've taken Venus out of the mix and we put in Chiron, which is the wounded healer teacher. So now their karma is earth energy. Their karma is their body. Their karma is to take care of themselves. Their karma is to eat right, exercise, do the right thing, stay responsible, get the bills paid, handle things responsibly, pay the taxes. It's all earth, 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 earth. And in this particular example, you've got a person who has a soul of 11, which means they were a rebel in their last life, and now they're like bogged down in the earth, and they're not going to be so happy about that. They're going to be like, what happened? I had all this freedom, and I know I've had freedom in another lifetime. I'm like, yep, you did in your last lifetime, but now we're doing responsibility. And it's the wounded healer teacher, which says one of the things that can happen when you get an 11-5 combination like this, let's say this person was a rebel in another lifetime, but now they have to take care of their body. Can you see that one of the answers would be that they were a rebel that got hurt or injured or didn't take care of their body, and so now they have all this karma to take care of their body? So it's an interesting kind of thing. One of the other ones that you see with this is if somebody has a soul of 1 and a karma of 5. So a soul of 1 and a karma of 5, you could actually have a person who in their last lifetime was in a third world country, poverty-oriented situation, so they had a humble life, but now they've got a karma of taking care of their body. They could have starved to death. So it's amazing how oftentimes you see a 1-5 combination, and you sometimes get eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia, and they don't know why. Or you get food allergies where people actually can't digest something, or they're very allergic to somebody, or they have celiac disease or anything, because sometimes it's coming from the last lifetime weakness or death process, and then it shows up as a karma of the wounded healer teacher. So they come in wounded. They actually come in wounded from the last lifetime. And I had a kid that I was babysitting that was like this. It was really interesting, and the mother was wonderful, just absolutely wonderful. And you know, she would feed him anything he wanted and all this kind of stuff. And this kid had a 1-5 combination, and he hoarded food under his bed, which was really interesting because she was feeding him to his heart's content, but he was like sure there was going to be no food for some reason. And it's a past life echo when you get things like this. And so that's why it's interesting when you're dealing with parents with kids, because then if I see that, I'll go, oh, by the way, that you might have this. And she's like, oh yeah, he always has cookies under his bed, or you know, he's never full, or he's never satisfied, or he's, you know, always wanting more food than everybody else. And I'm like, it's coming from that 1-5 combination, okay? But I just wanted to throw that in since we were there. So the karma of 5 is the karma of the wounded healer teacher, and now we've got a Taurus and a Gemini both with this. Now Gemini is a mutable air sign again, and Geminis are the twins. They're the sign of duality. So there's always what I call the twin on one end of the spectrum and a twin on the other end of the spectrum, because I don't like to say good and bad, because, you know, it's sort of like there's really no good or bad. It's just like we've got one that gets in control more often and one that gets in control less often. So, but a person who's a Gemini that's born in the 5th month, it grounds that energy. It stabilizes that energy. Now, sometimes it stables that energy from a wounding, Okay, so again, because when somebody has a karma of 5, they're usually carrying either a wound from a past life, which will be clued by the soul number, or they're going to have a wounding coming from from this life, these parents, this childhood, this situation, somehow, way, shape, and form. So again, just because I hear somebody's wounding and it doesn't sound like a big wound to me, doesn't mean it's not a big wound to them. So, you know, I kind of go, well, that's not big. But if it's a big deal to them, it's still their wound to them. So the karma of 5 can be, it's because it's so earthbound, it can be rigid. So, you know, it can be that place where it's too earthy, it's like too rigid, it's too stuck, it's too like, it's gotta be like this, you know, it's just like that. And and what happens is you can't, I mean, I think it's a miracle that our spirits can even be in a body to start with, because it's so much bigger than this body anyway. And then if you get a childhood that's so restrictive or rule-oriented or constrained, which is what happens when you get a karma of 5, then it just starts to be painful, okay? So they oftentimes are healing themselves or working through something. But the Gemini with this pattern, he's definitely healing himself in ways that are very grounded and responsible and practical and down to earth. So what I find is some of the most successful Geminis have a 5 because it grounds their dream. It stabilizes the duality of the twins. And again, if somebody has 5s or 10s in their numbers, it creates a stabilizing factor. So when you get a lot of chaotic numbers and you get any 5 or 10 in there, it's going to help a ton for creating stability. So, so no matter what, somebody who's born in the 5th month has some sort of wounding that they're working through. They're dealing with wounding with their body. Sometimes the karma comes in that they were a very sickly child. And maybe they had great parents, but they were a very, very sickly child, and so they have to work through their body issues. I've seen some that were kids that were stunted in growth. I actually had one gentleman who came in recently that he said he had a brother that was in utero. The part of the umbilical cord had detached from inside the uterus, so the last month of this kid's life, it was starving to death. And so this kid came out stunted. So he came out like 22 inches, but 4 pounds. Do you know what I mean? So it was this weird kind of thing. And that was the karma 5. So he was like always behind, you know, so physically he was behind because the karma 5 is earth energy. So you don't know whether this is like a childhood illness, a birth trauma, a trauma in childhood related to no grounding. There was no grounding, there was no stability, there was no balance. But somehow the earth energy was off. Okay, so just think of it like somewhere the earth energy is off, and then you just learn to intuitively feel it and go, well, you know, I'm looking at this person and they don't seem stunted, but the earth energy is off, so it's not physical there, it's probably emotional here, or, you know what I mean, you can kind of feel it as you go. All right. Okay, so now we're dealing with the Gemini with a karma of 6. So the karma of 6 again is Saint Hildegard. So remember Saint Hildegard. So think of monk, nun, priests, service-oriented. And so the karma of 6 is spirituality. But when you get a karma position of this, Geminis specifically have a karma of intimate relationships. So think again like the monk, nun, priest doesn't have intimate relationships, or sexually intimate relationships, I should say. So I remember being a child raised Catholic, and even as a child I thought it was really odd that a priest who was celibate would counsel anybody on their intimate relationship when they'd never had one. I thought that seemed an irony or a dualistic thought, so in some way. So Geminis all know that they have karma in intimate relationships. Relationships are incredibly challenging for them, partially because they're a twin. So one twin falls in love with a person, but then that other twin might sabotage that relationship. So it's this catch-22. So I remember years ago I was in a relationship with a Gemini, and he was a triple Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant in Gemini. And so he was like, there weren't 2 of him, there were 6 of him, right? And I remember having a dream that there was an old him, a young him, a male him, a female him, and a bad him and a good him. And I was in this dream talking to all of them, and they would not like agree on anything. And I finally said in the dream, am I ever going to get a straight answer out of any of you? And they all at the same time said no. And I woke up, called him, and told him the dream, and he said, you know, that's me. That's me. That's how it feels on the inside. He says, that's literally how it feels like. I can't get a straight answer. So you can imagine that intimate relationship is challenging if you're a twin and you don't know which twin is talking, right? So one minute I love you, the next minute I hate you. You can see that that would confuse the heck out of relationships in general, and that duality is what they're working on. So anybody who's, as a Gemini, who's born in the 6th month has karma with all intimate relationships. Mother, father, brothers, sisters, mates, work associates, everything. And they will get that. They totally get that. They go, yeah, I just feel totally inundated. I cannot get away from people. I can't figure it out sometimes. I don't understand why I'm triggering people. I'm not trying to. I mean, it's not that they're trying to. This is their karma. They don't know how to navigate the subtle signals, the intimate signals that people are getting. So, you and I both know as a woman that women can be very subtle in their energy field, and so we could express something as a woman and the other woman would get it. But men are sometimes not this way, so that then when you try and do the same thing with a man, he doesn't get it at all. And so then you think, well, what the heck is that? That's a classic example of a Gemini heterosexual relationship, would be that they just don't get it. You know, they well, I don't understand, why does she have to do that? I don't get that at all. Or the woman saying about a guy, I don't understand why he has to do that. I don't get that at all. It's like they don't understand. And it doesn't mean that they're stupid. It just means that they aren't experienced in it. They don't have enough reference points yet. So when I tell people who are in a relationship with a Gemini or are a Gemini themselves that they have to work on those skills, and I don't care what they want to do to work on those skills. If they want to read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, if they want to read what Gary Smalley's videos on relationship, if they want to do David Data stuff, if they want to practice Buddhism and understand their deepest core self, but somehow they need to learn some skills with relationship, and oftentimes that's not what they want to do. You know, they want it to be easy, but we know relationship is totally not easy. So, but this is their karma. They are working on relationship. So then you've got the Cancer that is born at the end of the month of Gemini. So this Cancer is still working on intimate relationships, but Cancer is the sign of the best fathers and mothers of the world are Tauruses and Cancers. So Cancer is the sign of home and hearth and family and babies, and as Taurus is the sign of motherhood and nurturing and food and taking care of and stability and grounding. And so you can imagine that a Cancer male is naturally drawn for family. He's naturally, and Cancer woman is naturally drawn for family. But their karma, if they're born in the 6th month, is still intimate relationships, which means they want it really, really badly, and they're still challenged by it incredibly. And they might pull in souls as children that were really challenging for them from other lifetimes. And they might really, really love them, but they're challenged by that relationship. They're challenged by dealing with that child in some way, trying to figure it out. Okay, so they just don't understand. I don't understand why she doesn't get that I love her, right? Kind of thing. So that's that karma. But again, it's an asset to a Cancer because it gives a Cancer male or female the ability to see that duality, which is a Gemini trait. So they see those two sides in themselves. So anybody who's born in that 6th month, even as a Cancer, they feel dualistic. They've got a very monogamous part, and then they've got this very non-monogamous part. They've got a part that really wants to be a parent, and they've got a part that doesn't like being a parent. Like they have both running, and it depends on which one's in charge, and that's what they're battling, is that duality within them, even if they're a Cancer.